Sorry,
Nobody was.
Kevin.
Let's see, did we get into the right one? I don't think I went into the right one. Am I in the right one or not? I don't think I am. Hold on. Thought I did. Let's see if I'm in the right one. Live. Scott. Are we in the right one?
Crafty Crafter's laughing at Kevin, she says.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Good. Hi, Crafty Crafter. You're still laughing at Kevin? Well, I did the redirect. Okay, here you come. Hi, Mary. Here you come. Hi, Nightbot. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Chris
Hi,
Reed.
Nightbot. Nightbot's a bucket of bolts.
All right, I'm going to have to pull up these scripts here. I don't know where we were. And I still don't know why I thought Becky Ann was in Ohio. And I need to figure that out because that's still.
I don't know.
Maybe because I'm near there.
No, I
Yeah,
would know
yeah.
because like
Think the house
New
in
York would
Illinois.
ring bells for me. New York would ring a bell for me.
I don't know
Her
if I ever
voice
said I
rings
was
a
from New
bell.
York. I said Long Island.
Long Island. Do you say it like that? Long Island? Long
Long
Island.
No, I don't say it that way. I
No?
think that's more like Staten Island. They say it that way.
Long Island.
Long Island. Yeah, I
Long
don't say it
Island.
like that. There's no guy in there.
I know.
That was like that girl's name. But you know, the girl with Butterfugo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Julie
I was thinking
Buttafuoco
about
and
her.
Amy Fisher.
That's it, Amy Fisher.
Yeah.
I remember watching that whole trial.
Yeah.
That one, actually, the first trial I think I ever watched was Chambers.
Oh
Remember
yeah, and I
Chambers?
think the first one I really got into was Steinberg. Joel Steinberg and Hedda Nussman. Remember
Oh,
those with Lisa
yes.
Steinberg? Yeah.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
It really pissed me off though. Chambers strangled her with her underwear, and then he only got 15 years. Like, and he's already released. He's already at like, this is a long time ago. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was annoyed.
And they used to
We
have
need
the
somebody
trials.
who
That was
admitted
before
it.
anything. They used to have them on. I remember it was on CBS, and they would only have a portion of it on. And then, remember, everybody would freak out because their soap operas got preempted.
Yeah.
So crazy. Okay, I have too many tabs open. I have to close tabs here. Too many tabs.
I'll be back. I gotta go have a cigarette.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh, I have so many tabs open. Oh gosh. So bad. Somebody, when I was sharing a screen somewhere, they go, oh, and look at that. They have all those tabs. I said, those are my tabs. I'm
Might
sharing
be me.
my screen. And they're like,
Right.
oh, okay, well, that's all right.
Hello.
You know when you have so many tabs open that you can't even see the next tab open because it's so far off the screen? Oh my gosh,
Oh.
that's me. Yeah, that's me.
I try to. Mike says, "Oh, you can leave them all open. Doesn't hurt anything." It's like I feel like it makes everything run and it,
I have so many
drains the
tabs.
battery faster. Okay, now it's almost 3.
All right, so let's see who we can get through today. Let's see. Because, that decision's going to be, it was supposed to be Friday, but now it's going to be any day now. Okay.
Well, they wouldn't do it on the weekend, would they?
Scott Peterson. No, they'll probably do it,
Monday,
So-
maybe?
let's see here. Okay. Click here for court
You
doc.
have to leave, put the stuff in the one.
We were
private one.
on, we did, let's see. Russell Graybill, no, we didn't do that. Tara Venable, Susan Aquino, Amy Krigbaum, William
Krigbaum.
Austin. We were on Karen Service, Peterson. No, we haven't been there yet. Oh, Harvey Kemple. Isn't that where we were? Gwen Kemple's husband. I think we left off at Harvey. So the next person is Karen Service, who's the Peterson's neighbor. So I'm going to put this in Slack to you. Karen Service. Okay. I don't think you got my last message either, Sharon, in Slack.
I did, and I couldn't agree more.
Oh, okay. All right.
I couldn't agree more.
Let me see here.
Holy crap, these are okay. Sideways.
Okay. So you could change your name if you want to Karen. I thought she's Karen Service. Oh, good. We get Garagos. Okay. It's always a disappointment when he's not on. Okay, this is June 9th of 2004. This is a prosecution witness, and it's Karen Ann Servas. She's the neighbor of Lacey and Scott Peterson. So we're going to do the direct examination. Rick DeStasso, prosecutor. Are you ready, Sharon?
Yeah, I'm also.
Okay. Ms. Service, I don't want you to tell me the address, but do you live on Covina Avenue in Modesto?
Yes, I do.
And do you live on next door to the Peterson residence?
Yes, I do.
And were you living there on December 24th of 2002?
Yes.
And how long had you lived at your house?
Since August of 1992.
So you were present during the entire time that Lacey and Scott Peterson lived at the home at 523 Covina?
Yes.
Okay, if you could, just so the jury has some reference where we're at, do you see that diagram behind you?
Yes.
Can you just write the words of Service Home on the side of the house where your house would be?
Right sun diagram.
Okay, thank you. Now let me just ask you this. What was your relationship with the Petersons, Lacey and Scott Peterson?
Well, I first met Lacey and Scott when they moved, which was in 2000, and I met them just on the front lawn. One day they were out, and they were new neighbors, so we spoke, and I had a pretty good relationship with both of them.
And since they were your next door neighbors, I'm sure you saw them regularly. Hi, how's it going? That kind of thing?
Absolutely.
And you have a son, right?
Yes.
And did you and your son ever go over to their house for any type of gatherings?
Numerous times we did.
Okay, what kind of gatherings?
We went there for a Memorial Day picnic. We went for a Super Bowl party. We went just casually went over. I mean, they were neighbors. We went over. I swam in their pool a number of times.
How in 2002, how old would your son have been?
He would have been 8 at that time.
And at that time that you were there, did you know about the Petersons putting a pool in?
Yes.
And you said that you and your son would go over, on occasion, I guess, and swim in the pool and just do normal neighbor stuff?
Correct.
When was the last time you ever spoke to Lacey Peterson?
It was the afternoon of Sunday, December 22nd.
And can you just tell about the last contact? How is it that you came to speak to her?
Well, Scott and Lacey were in the front yard mowing the lawn earlier that afternoon, and I had wanted to ask Scott to come over to my house and help me straighten out my Christmas tree. So after they were done mowing the lawn, I walked over there and the side gate was open and I went in the backyard and both Scott and Lacey were in the backyard transplanting plants from one side to the other.
Okay. When you said they were both mowing the lawn, were they both side by side pushing the lawnmower?
No. Scott was mowing the lawn and Lacey was just kind of puttering around the front yard when I first saw them.
And you said you went into the backyard?
Correct?
And did you speak to Lacey?
Yes, I did.
And did she tell you anything about how she was feeling, her physical condition related to the pregnancy?
She said she felt really tired. And when we were standing around the pool, she also mentioned that she had almost fallen in the pool. I think it was a couple of weeks before that she had kind of felt teetery and a little off balance.
All right, let's go to the 24th now. I'm sorry, let me finish up with the 22nd. You said you had wanted the defendant to come over and help straighten up your Christmas tree?
Correct.
Okay, and did he do that later that day?
Yes, he did.
And then let's go to the 24th. Were you home on December 24th, 2002?
Yes, I was.
And did you at some point during the day find that Scott and Lacey's dog Mackenzie, did you find that dog out in or somewhere on the street?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute, but let me switch this over real quick. Your Honor, I'm going to mark this whole binder. We'll mark it A through next in order. This is 27, which is a binder. How many photographs are in there? Oh, let's see. A through what? 6 total. A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, A through F. Ooh, let's see. What are you marking? 27A through F. Okay, just so we know what we're talking about, the right dog. This is People's 27A, and do you recognize that dog?
Yeah, that's Mackenzie.
And is that a fair representation of what the dog looked like on December 24th of 2002?
Yes.
Let me show you this binder of pictures, 27A through F. You just looked at 27A, so go ahead and look through the rest of them. Tell me when you're done.
Okay, I'm through.
Okay, before we show these to the jury, let me have you do one thing. Let me ask you, do the pictures in this binder, the ones you haven't talked about, 27B through 27F, do these accurately reflect how your home in the Peterson's residence at 523 looked on December 24th of 2002?
Yes.
Okay, while we're here, I'm going to have you do one thing. Take a look at 27B. Is that a picture of your home?
Yes, it is.
And did you find Scott Peterson's dog Mackenzie out in front of your home sometime on December 24th of 2002?
Yes, I did.
Okay, before we get started, I'm just going to pull this picture out and then I'm going to draw a circle and just draw a circle where it was that you found the dog.
When I first saw the dog or when I touched the dog?
When you first saw the dog.
Okay. It would be right about here. Do you want me to just put an X?
No, just put a 1 for where you first saw it.
Okay.
And then on the bottom of that picture, and you just put your name, Karen Servas, so that we remember later who we were talking to.
Right there?
Right there is fine. Okay. And then on this picture, can you put a 2 where you first touched the dog?
That would be right here.
Okay. Do you want to make the 1 a little larger?
I'm trying.
It's not showing up.
No, it's not showing up very well.
There is a black one behind you. That might be a little better.
We're gonna die.
A little bit. Not really. Okay. Okay, hold on to that binder and let's start at 27B, okay? Take a look at the screen for me if you could. Oops. It will help to turn it on. What picture are we looking at here in the binder?
That would be 27B.
And if I use the mouse, where is it? Okay, let's start. Let's take the jury through what happened there in the morning.
Okay.
In the morning, you were getting ready to leave your house on the 24th to do some errands.
Yes, I was.
And you walk out of your house, correct?
Yes.
And this is your driveway right here.
Yes, that's my driveway.
So this is your white house,
Correct.
and the Peterson house is this green house right next to it.
Yes, correct.
So you walk out of your house, and where was your car parked?
My car was parked all the way up the driveway where I always park it, which is,
Okay. You can almost actually see it there behind the...
yeah, that's where it was.
Okay. So your car is parked there. Just so the jurors know, these pictures were not actually taken on the morning of the 24th, right?
Correct.
So you get in your car, right?
Yeah,
And you do what?
I back out of my driveway to my front end as it backed out would have been facing south. My front end was facing south. I was going out to Encina, which is the street that's over here.
Okay.
It's south of the house.
If we're looking at Coping it down the street, that little trail that leads to the park is down here,
Correct.
and the Encina is this direction.
Correct.
So if we look at the picture, it's to the left.
Yes.
So you backed out of your driveway, and so you probably backed out this way so that your front end was facing towards Encina.
Yes, it was.
And then what happened next?
I looked out of my driver's side window and Mackenzie was standing in the street looking at me.
Okay, so the dog that we saw earlier was standing in the street?
Correct.
And where, if I used the house, where was he?
He was, move a little bit more up the street.
Let me see if this might show up. Yeah, let me give you a laser pointer. This might show up better.
As I backed out, he was right about here.
And that's about the location where you marked on the picture in front of you, right?
Correct.
Okay, then what happened next?
Well, I saw that he was by himself, so I pulled over to here, pulled my car over and got out of my car and walked over to him. By the time he had gone to basically the end of my bumper, my driver's side bumper. So he was standing right in front of my driveway at that point.
Okay, let me click. This was 27B. Let me go to 27C. There it is. So this is a little bit closer. Can you show us? Hold on. Let me go to 27B. This is looking directly at your house. Can you show me on here where you saw him?
Yeah, the first time was here in the street. When I went and got out of my car, he had moved to here.
Okay, I'm just going to put the picture up so they can see this. 27B right here. I'm just going to pull that over while we're talking for a minute. Okay. And I'm going to back over here. So you said, so you got one. Okay, you walked in there. He was. Okay, and what time was it that you found the dog?
It was sometime, well, after backtracking my receipts, I determined that I found the dog at about 10:18, at 10:18 a.m.
Okay, and we'll talk about the receipts in a minute. So after you found the dog, you checked his tags. What did you do next?
Took his leash in my hand and I walked across my lawn and across to Scott and Lacey's house, and I tried to open the front gate.
Okay, so you went here across your lawn.
Correct.
Okay. And when you had the dog, how were you holding him? As you were walking him to the house or to the Peterson house, how were you holding him? By his fur, by his collar, by the leash?
By the leash.
Okay, so the leash was still attached?
Correct.
Can you describe for the jury what the condition of the leash was?
The leash it was dirty. It had leaves and like grass clippings on it. It was moist.
Moist.
I know.
Was your lawn wet that morning?
My lawn was. It was overcast that day. It hadn't rained in a couple days, but the lawns were pretty dewy and moist from the fog.
Do you remember whether the dog's coat, whether the dog's coat was wet or was it dry?
It was dry.
So you take the dog, you take him across your lawn over here, and is that right?
Correct.
I'm traveling in the right direction as we look at this picture from the middle towards the right.
Correct.
Now this is 27E.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. Now you said you went and tried the front gate.
Correct.
And is that the gate right here?
Yeah, right there.
Okay. So you walk across your lawn, and then you tried the front gate. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And what happened?
Well, I felt a little panicked because the gate was locked. But then I heard some raking in the backyard, and so I figured I'd go try and see if the side gate was unlocked or open.
Okay, so you walk up there, you try this gate, didn't get in. Did you continue across the lawn?
Yes, I did.
And you said you went to the side gate.
Yes, I noticed that Lacey's car was there, so I went. And I came around the corner, the side gate, which is located right here, was open. It was ajar, and so I figured she must be in the backyard, so I walked into the backyard with the dog.
And where was Lacey's car parked?
It was parked up in the drive. I mean, it was up in the driveway. I don't know if it was on the left or right side, but it was right about here.
And were you familiar with the defendant's truck?
Yes.
And you recognize Scott Peterson as he sits here in court?
Yes, absolutely.
And so Lacey's car parked in the drive?
Yes.
And look at People's 12 behind you, the diagram there. And when you see not the pickup truck, but the one that's labeled 4M, where you see, is that the approximate place that Lacey's car was?
I don't know if that's the exact place, but that's how far up to the gate that the car was parked.
Okay. Okay, and where was Scott Peterson's truck?
It was not there. I didn't see it.
Did you see Scott Peterson leave at all that morning?
No.
So Lacey's car is parked here, and this gate is open, you said?
Yes.
One more thing on the diagram. This diagram, People's 12, shows you the gate that you're describing. Do you see it right here as gate number 2?
Yes, I do.
And the gate is swung open outwards towards the vehicles?
Correct.
And this is the way you saw it on December 24th?
Yes.
And one more thing on the diagram. People's 12 shows the gate that you're describing. Do you see it right here? Oh, no, hold on a minute. Yes, we're correct.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the one you saw it on, is that the way you saw it on December 24th? Isn't that
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and that gate swings out towards the street.
Yes, it does.
And that is just a little bit, this is People's 27F, a little bit closer of these same areas. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can you do me a favor now? Take that blue marker that you were using, and on People's 12, can you write with a dashed line where you went with the dog?
From the point that I started?
Yeah. The diagram doesn't really show where your house is or where you found the dog, right?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, and where you found the dog on People's 12, where you wrote where you have serve as home, it would be further to the left.
Yes.
Can you just write this, write found dog, put an arrow towards the left?
I wrote on the diagram.
And then can you show us with a dashed line the route you took and what you did with the dog?
Okay. Writing on diagram. Okay, this is where I went to the front gate, and the gate was locked. And I heard the noise coming from the backyard, so I went around, which is normally where I would go through the gate. And then I walked with the dog along the cement by the pool right up to here at the end of the house. And I looked to the left, didn't see anything, but the noise that I originally heard when I was up here at the gate I determined was coming from either the Hogan's backyard or the Dunger's backyard. I think it was the Hogan's.
Let me stop you. Those were other neighbors?
Correct.
Let her. Let's have her mark the path. Just a KS. Just a KS. Anywhere along the dotted line, just put a KS so we know that's where you went. Actually, can I just have her put a service with dog so later we can remember? Whatever, as long as we can identify who it is. Just write service and /dog.
I'm writing on the diagram.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. And then you said you heard a noise, right? And what kind of noise was it?
It was the sound of somebody raking.
And when you went into the backyard, you determined that was coming from a different neighbor's yard?
Correct.
Did you see anything in the backyard?
Nothing. No.
People?
No.
Any activity going on there at the house that you observed?
No. No activity.
All right. And so what did you do next?
I turned around with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And walked back along to here and back through the covered patio area. And this is where basically, I said, Mackenzie, stay. Said bye-bye and shut the gate and left.
Okay, and the dog, you were familiar with the dog from the time you were over at the house?
Yeah, very familiar.
You can put the pen down. So when you left, you put the dog in, you left and shut the gate.
Yes.
Did you take the leash off the dog?
No, I did not.
What's the next thing that you did that day?
I walked back across the lawn, and my hands were full of, the leaves and grass clippings and things that were on the leash. And so I went. I was just going to go ahead and rub them on my jeans and go, but I decided not to because they were pretty dirty. So I went in my house and washed my hands.
Okay, this is People's D again. So you went back to where you went inside and washed your hands. This is 27D we're looking at now. And did you get in your car then?
Yes, I walked back out of my house, back down the driveway since my car was in the street at that point.
Okay, did you see what was going on in the street at that time?
At the time that I walked out of my house,
Mm-hmm.
there was a gentleman that was walking down the street past my car. It was a Caucasian gentleman, balding. He looked like he had been walking down in the park.
Is that unusual for people to come past your house to get to that trail at the end of the park?
We have a lot of people that do that.
Okay, so that was not unusual.
It's not unusual.
And did you see anything else?
No.
Did you see the Kriegbaums across the street? I mean, were they out?
No.
I mean, Amy Kriegbaum is who I meant.
No.
The next door neighbor across the street are the Medinas, correct?
Correct.
Were they out?
No.
You didn't see them? Okay. So you wash your hands, you get back in the car. Where do you go?
I drove to the Bank of America, and there were no parking spaces. I circled the bank twice and decided to move on to the next place that I needed to go to, which was Austin's Christmas store.
And this La Loma area that you live in, how far is that from the downtown area where the Bank of America is that you went to?
In approximate terms,
Mm-hmm.
about a mile.
And then you went from the Bank of America to where?
Well, after I circled the bank twice, I went to Austin's Christmas store.
And did you go into the store?
Yes, I did.
And is that store located downtown somewhere also?
Yes, it's downtown.
And you went in, and what did you do?
I went in and purchased some Christmas ornaments, paid for them, and left the store.
And what did you do next?
Next, I went to Starbucks downtown.
And, hold on. While you were in between Austin's and Starbucks, did you make a phone call?
Yes, I did.
Who'd you call?
Tom Egan.
And after you went to Starbucks, where did you go after that?
I went back to Bank of America, found a parking space, and made a deposit.
And then what else did you do that morning?
After Bank of America,
Mm-hmm.
I went up McHenry Avenue to Prime Shine Express and got my car washed.
And since this jury really doesn't have any idea about these areas that we're talking about, how far is the Prime Shine car wash from the Starbucks downtown?
From Starbucks or from Bank of America?
From Bank of America.
Can I use approximate?
Sure.
Because I haven't clocked that.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably close to between 3 and 4 miles up McHenry.
And then after going there, where did you go?
I went to the Save Mart at Scenic and Oakdale.
Just so we're clear with that, might actually be, is that area, no, I don't think it's on that map, so we won't worry about it. Okay, you went to Save Mart, and then what happened next?
After I went to the grocery store, I went home.
And then you stayed home for some period of time?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what time it was that you left your home?
It was about 5 after 4.
Now, do you remember testifying at the preliminary hearing? Did you testify in the preliminary hearing?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember testifying at the preliminary hearing that you left your home that day at around, I think you said 5:05?
Correct, I did say that.
Did you later go back and check some records which helped you better determine the time at the house, the time you left your house?
Yes, I did.
What records did you look at?
I looked at my day timer and my Microsoft Outlook and saw that I actually needed to be somewhere that day at 4 o'clock. And when I left my house that day, I knew I was 5 minutes late to wherever I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be at a Christmas party, and for some reason, I thought it was 5:05, but when I checked, it was actually 4:05.
So using that day timer entry, did that refresh your memory that at the time you left, it was exactly 4:05?
Yes.
Now, did you at some point that evening, did you receive a call from Scott Peterson saying something to the effect of, Lacey's missing, have you seen her? Something like that?
He called me. I'm not sure of the exact time. I knew it was after 8:30 and asked me if I knew where she was, and I said no. He said, well, she's missing, and then something to the effect that there are people searching for her down in the park. There are helicopters and things. Because I told him I wasn't there, I was up in Ripon, and I told him I found Mackenzie, and he said, hold on. And he put me on the phone with a detective.
And did you talk to a detective that night?
Yes, I did.
At some point, were you asked, or did Scott Peterson ask you if you could more definitively define exactly what time you found the dog?
Yes, he did.
What time did you initially tell police you found the dog?
I told them it was about 10:30.
And did you find some records that helped you to really narrow the time frame down that you actually found the dog?
Yes. First, I found my receipt from Austin Christmas Store, and then I received my cell phone records when my cell phone bill came.
Okay. Do you want that marked next in order? Yes, Your Honor, this is People's 28. It's a receipt from Austin's Christmas Store. All right. And when did you find this particular receipt?
I found it in my jeans pocket on December 28th when I went to do my laundry.
And I showed you People's 28 there. Is that the actual receipt that you found?
That's my receipt.
Okay. What time was it that it shows you made a purchase at Austin's Christmas Store?
It says 10:34 a.m.
Ms. Servas, this is so faint, and I don't think that it's going to show up on the document camera. So can you just read where it says from and the date and the time?
It says Austin's Christmas Store, 12/24/2003, 10:34 a.m., clerk number 1.
let me see the date. I think you said 2003.
I said, oh no, I said, did I say 2003?
That's what I heard.
2002, 12/24/2002.
The date on there is 12/24/2002.
Correct.
After you found that receipt, and then did you also get your cell phone bill, and did you look up the call where you called, you said Tom Egan?
Yes, I did.
I'll have this marked next in order, Your Honor. It's a cell phone bill. 29, cell phone bill. And do you remember calling Mr. Egan after you left Austin's Christmas store?
Right. I called him after I left Austin's, and he returned my call after I got out of the car wash.
Okay, do you see that phone call? Let me just ask you, is People's 29 a copy of your cell phone records?
Yes.
And do you see that phone call that you just told us about on those records?
Yes.
What time was that call?
The phone call that I made after I got out of Austin's?
Yes.
It's at 10:38 a.m.
Can you just take this highlighter and highlight that on the bill?
Okay.
Just highlight where the call is.
Marked it up.
Did you then, at some point, after getting these documents and looking at the times, did you try to recreate the events that you did that morning in order to try to backtrack the time that you think you found the dog?
I recreated the events after I found this receipt, but before I got my cell phone records.
Okay. And can you just tell the jury what you did?
Well, what I did was basically went through the motions of that morning. I opened the door out of my house, I went into my car, backed out of the driveway in the same direction that I did, and at the same time that I imagined finding Mackenzie, I started my stopwatch. And then I pulled my car to the side of the road and went through the exact motions that I went through, including going into my house, getting back in my car, driving around the Bank of America twice, pulling up in front of Austin's, and that's the point that I stopped my watch.
Okay, and based on that recreation that you did, is that how you were able to determine that you found the dog approximately 10:18 in the morning?
Correct.
Then you said that you had received a phone call on the 28th from Scott Peterson asking you if you could kind of narrow your time frame down or kind of find by minute when you actually found the dog.
Yes, he left a cell phone message for me.
And is that call also reflected on those phone records in front of you?
I don't know of his incoming call. You know what? Yeah, it's actually on the second page. I'm not sure if his incoming call is shown on here because it went to voicemail, but my call responding to him, which was approximately an hour and a half later, is listed here.
Okay, and where were you at that time?
I was in Santa Fe, New Mexico,
And what time was it that you called him back?
December 28th.
And can you just take this highlighter and highlight just the call, showing that when you called him back?
When I called him back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, on the 24th, you said you were in Ripon
Yes.
when this initial kind of conversation and Lacey was missing and all that was going on?
Yes.
And just for the jury's information, Ripon is a small town, maybe about 10, 15 miles north of Modesto.
That's correct.
Okay, and were you there for just a holiday dinner?
Yeah, holiday gathering.
All right, the next day, did you go over to Scott Peterson's home?
On a number of occasions, yes.
And we heard testimony. It's fair to say that people were kind of in and out of the house. There were people around the neighborhood searching, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And did you ever go over there sometime in the evening?
I went over at about 5 o'clock.
What was your purpose in going over there?
I wanted to see the 5 o'clock news out of Sacramento to see if they had a report about her being missing.
And did you, since the jury doesn't know you, do you not have a television, or how is it that you couldn't watch the TV at your own house?
Well, I have DirecTV satellite, and I don't subscribe to the local channels.
And you knew that Lacey and Scott had those channels?
Yes, I did know that.
So when you went over there, who was there at the house?
Scott was there. Lee and Jackie, they just arrived, and I believe Renee Tomlinson and her husband.
And Jackie and Lee are who?
Scott's parents.
Do you see them sitting in the front row of the court here?
Yes, I do.
And did you watch the news?
Yes, I did.
And were people still kind of coming in and out at this time? Was it just those folks you told us?
It was just them. There may have been one or two other people. I don't recall at the time that we were actually there. If they were people I didn't know.
Okay. So you stayed there. You watched the news.
Correct.
And then where did you go?
I went home.
Did you receive a call at some point to go back to the house?
Yes, approximately 10 minutes later.
While you were there, were you asked to stay for Christmas dinner?
I was asked to stay, yeah. They were going to have turkey for dinner, and I was asked to stay to eat.
That was the first time you were there, about 5 o'clock?
It would have been probably 5:15, 5:20-ish.
Okay, and what did you tell them?
I said, no, I'm a vegetarian. I have packing I need to do. I'm leaving for New Mexico the next day, so I think I'll just go home.
And then you received a call that 10 minutes later. Who called you?
Scott did.
And what did he say?
He said, well, I found some cheese tortellini. Would you, to paraphrase, would you reconsider? Would you come over?
Okay.
And I said, okay.
So you went over, and who was at the house this time?
Scott, Lee, and Jackie.
So the defendant and both of his parents.
Correct.
What was the defendant's parents? What was Lee Peterson's demeanor when you went over there?
He was really upset. I mean, he was crying and was upset.
And what about Jackie Peterson?
Jackie was upset as well.
And how would you describe the defendant's demeanor?
He was pretty calm. He wasn't, I had already seen him upset during the day, so he was pretty calm at that point.
And what went on during dinner?
Well,
let me just ask you this. Who cooked dinner? Objection, relevance. Yeah, unless it's going to clear up something or... No, I'll make an offer if you want, outside the presence, but there is absolutely no relevance to any of this. Does it have any relevance to what went on during dinner? No, I was just using that for background. I'll skip over it. So they had dinner. Did you have dinner then? Well, let me just go right to it. Did Scott Peterson say anything about the police taking a gun from his house?
yes.
What did he say?
He said he was a little upset because when he got back from wherever he had been the night before, he had noticed when he got home that the police had taken his gun and some rags out of the washing machine without his knowledge.
And did he say where they took the gun from?
He said that the police had taken it from the house.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Okay. Cross-examination by Mark Garagos. Judge. Mr. Garagos? Thank you. Do you want to turn this off now? No, they can leave it on. I may use it. You're going to use it? Okay. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Starting, I'm going to go through, track a little bit of what the prosecutor was asking you.
Okay.
You said the last time that you saw Scott and Lacey together was on the 22nd. Is that right?
Sunday the 22nd, yes.
Okay, and that was approximately what time?
It was between 2 and 3. It was in the afternoon.
Okay, and it was not uncommon for you to go over there to their house unannounced, as so to speak.
Not uncommon at all.
Okay, in fact, you had at that time, an 8-year-old boy.
Correct.
And your 8-year-old boy would go swimming with Scott in the pool and play at the house on occasion. Isn't that true?
Primarily just swimming in the pool. Yes.
Okay, and he and Scott would also come over to your house, or you would ask him on occasion to come over to do things like on the 22nd to straighten the tree, other kinds of chores, I take it, or odds and ends around the house.
He had helped me on a number of occasions with things that I maybe physically couldn't handle, so.
Is it fair to say that you were a single mother, you're not exactly huge, so you need something to be moved or helped out around the house? He would do that on occasion.
Yes, he would. Whenever I asked him to do something, he would. If he had the time to do it, he would come and do it.
Okay.
And it was helpful.
Is it fair to say that he was both he and Lacey were very good neighbors?
Absolutely.
Do you belong to the Rotary?
Modesto Rotary, Downtown Rotary Club? Yes, I do.
And had Scott just joined at the Rotary before the disappearance?
Actually, he had been a member for a while. I think possibly up to a year prior to that.
Had he taken Lacey to the Rotary, do you remember, right before that, and introduced her and baby Connor to the Rotary Club?
I don't recall being present if that happened, no.
Okay, now on the 22nd when he came over, what did you have him do? Straighten up the Christmas tree?
He got under the tree, and I held the trunk, and he straightened the tree from underneath.
Okay, your son also, I think he had a collection of out-of-house collection of miniatures, collection of some kind?
Yes, they were there. I'm not exactly sure where, but they were there.
And your son was present on the 22nd?
Yeah, he was in the house.
Okay, and Scott was interactive with all of these, greet him, or they knew each other by name, I take it.
Yeah, I don't know how much they actually talked that day. I can't recall that.
Now, the 22nd, when you went over, this would have been before he came back over to your house to arrange the Christmas tree, right?
Correct.
When you went over first, the first things you noticed were Scott was mowing the lawn, Lacey was out in front with him.
Well, when I first went over, they were already through mowing the lawn.
Okay, they were already in the backyard excuse me.
They were already in the backyard when I went over.
And you said they were transplanting. What was Lacey physically doing?
She was standing.
Okay, and would she bend down or help out, or what was she doing? Was she doing anything?
No, she was basically, Scott would be over to the fence, dug up the perennials to transplant, and then she was, showing where she wanted it to go.
Okay.
So he was doing the work, she was directing.
Okay, which from what I understand was not uncommon.
No, she knew what she wanted and where she wanted it.
The work that was being done around the house, I assume that you were their neighbor while they were there redoing their yard, right? As well.
Yes.
And Scott was really the one who would be doing more of that kind of work.
Well, it depends on the project. I mean, if you want to talk specifics, I can't remember specifically when he did the brick or this or that, but generally they would work together, whether it happened to be a planning project. She did a lot of the planning herself and actually moved things around a lot during the time they were working, during the time they were living there.
Okay, now on the 23rd, you were home, I take it?
On the 23rd, that would be Monday?
That would have been a Monday.
I was at work.
Okay, what time did you get home?
I can't recall the exact time I got home on Monday.
Okay, and did you spend the night there Monday night?
The 23rd?
The 23rd.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and your son was home also?
No, he was over at his aunt's house.
Okay. Did you hear anything unusual at all during the night of the 23rd?
No.
Okay, you apparently got fairly keen ears because you were able to hear raking at a neighbor's yard on the 24th, so I assume your hearing's okay.
My hearing is fine, thank you.
Okay, the morning of the 24th, your estimate at least, let me go through this timeline in a second, and you got to it, but your estimate is that you were home till at least 10:15, right?
Correct.
Did you hear anything that morning unusual?
No.
Okay, the way when you first got a call from Scott, that was on the 20th or the 24th, there was at approximately, it was at approximately 8 o'clock?
Well, since I have my phone records in front of me now,
Sure.
the incoming call to Ripon was at 8:48 p.m. So it's right there, call number 114.
Okay, call number 114, 848, and it says you were at Ripon.
Right. It says it's an incoming call.
Mm-hmm. And the incoming call was from, can you tell?
Well, it doesn't actually say the numbers on Verizon bills. It just says that there's an incoming call. That is my phone number, but that's when he called me. I only got one call when I was up at the Christmas party, and that call was from him.
And the call from him, what exactly did he ask you?
I don't know what he asked me exactly. I can paraphrase it.
Sure, unless do you have a copy of what he said, or...
That's my line.
Oh, sorry.
Unless you have a copy of what he said, or...
No, they weren't wiretapping that early on.
Okay, sorry. He said, Karen, it's Scott. I'm just paraphrasing. He said, we're trying to narrow the timeline down to see if it ties with the burglary at the Medina's house across the street. If there's any way you can get it, more exact with your timing when you found the dog, I'd appreciate it. I'm just paraphrasing.
And that's on the 24th?
That he made the call to me?
Is that right?
No, the call that I just described.
Right.
Was on the 28th.
On the 28th?
When I was in New Mexico.
Right. Let's go back to the 24th.
The 24th, I spoke to him that day.
When he called me around 8:40, oh, excuse me. Right. When did you speak to him?
When he called me at 8:48 p.m.
Okay, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Let's bring focus on the 8:48, and then I'll...
Okay, because I thought you had switched.
No.
Okay.
The 8:48, you were there.
8:48, I was at Ripon at a friend's house.
Okay, having a Christmas Eve dinner.
Christmas Eve dinner.
Right.
Absolutely.
You got a call from Scott?
Yes.
And in that call, what does he say to you?
He said to me, Karen, this is Scott. Have you seen Lacey today? I said, no, but I found Mackenzie. And he said, well, Lacey's missing, and went through the same thing that I told you before, or told Mr. Tasso before, the helicopters and all that.
Right.
And then when I told him I'd found the dog, he put me on the phone with a detective to describe finding the dog.
Right. So as soon as he found out that you had some kind of information about Mackenzie and finding Mackenzie, he immediately put you on the phone with the detective, correct?
Yes, he did.
Okay, and do you remember what you told the detective?
I don't remember specifically what I told him. At that point, I was just in shock, so...
There was do you remember, if you probably don't, but do you remember if you talked to which detective you talked to?
That evening, I don't remember the name of the detective that I talked to on the phone after Scott passed it off. Like I said, I was upset. I was in shock, so I don't remember who I talked to, but I know I talked to a detective.
When you talk to, and this is, I'll keep prefacing so we don't skip around. This is still on the 24th. This is the first time that you heard that finding the dog may have something to do with Lacey's disappearance, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, because I mean, it's a fair statement that morning that you didn't think that there was anything. I mean, you thought it was unusual that the dog was out there without a leash, but you didn't realize that it had any import until you got the call, correct?
yeah, that's true.
Okay, and now you talked to the detective. You told him that you were preparing to leave your residence on 12/24 at almost exactly 10:30. Is that correct?
I don't know that's what I told Detective Bueller the next morning on the 25th, but I don't know if that's what I told the detective that evening on my cell phone.
Okay, do you remember what you told them that evening on the cell phone?
In general terms, because again, I was a little frazzled at that point, just as I had found the dog in front of my house before I left to run errands.
Okay, so when you told them that, and then you said, "We'll talk tomorrow morning" or something like that,
Well, I asked to talk to Scott again,
and they put Scott back on the phone? Oh, excuse me, okay?
and they put Scott back on the phone.
Okay, you talked to Scott?
He said, "What's going on? How are you? What's happening?" And he was like, I don't know. They're looking for her." And then that was basically the call.
Okay, now on the 25th, you said you saw Scott a number of times,
Yes,
and you have seen him upset a number of times, correct?
he was. I don't know if you call it upset. He was pretty just,
Focused?
it looked like he was in shock. I mean, that's how I interpreted it. He was in shock and just kind of, had the posters and was out with friends, stapling posters up on the flag, up on the poles and things like that.
Okay, focused on as much as one can be in that kind of emotional strife, focused on trying to find Lacey. Objection, that's argumentative. Sustained. Calls for speculation. When you say he was in shock, was he responding to you?
Yeah, but usually just, he was kind of even toned.
Flat?
Flat, yeah, that would be a fair assessment.
When did you talk to Bueller?
It was between 11 and 12 on Christmas Day.
Okay, and so I'll ask you, I assume they've shown you all the reports in connection with you.
I've seen them, yes.
Okay, and Bueller writes that you told him that you were leaving your residence at approximately 10:30 a.m.
I told him that morning, yes.
Okay, and that you were backing up, and that was one day removed from when it had actually happened.
Correct.
Okay, that you were backing out of the driveway, and that would have been the picture that's up here, right?
Yes.
And this is this the car that you were in?
Yes, that's my car.
Okay, and as you're backing out of the driveway, how far out of the street were you before you saw Mackenzie?
Well, I backed the car out this way. It was basically parallel to the curbing here, and I saw him here as I was backing out. So the car was already all the way into the street.
Okay, so when you say backing out, so that you were going to go ahead in the direction that I've got the cursor going in this direction, you would be going south.
It would be going south.
And that's away from the park. The park, if you're going down to the park, it's down in this direction, over this way.
It would be going north towards Scott and Lacey's house.
Okay, now, to your curb and... No, hold on a minute.
No.
Now, when you saw the dog, and by the way, the dog was closer to your curb or to the Medina's curb?
To my curb.
To your curb and in the middle of the street?
in the middle of the street when I first saw him.
And heading this direction towards the Covina house?
Was he heading in the direction?
Yeah, which direction was the dog facing?
He was.
If you're the jury.
It was like he was coming around toward me, so his head was south and his rear was north.
So, facing.
Yeah.
Same direction that you were.
As I'm pulling out, he's just there and his head's here. So, as he came, it was like he came from behind my vehicle.
Okay, so he would have been, could have been heading from the park direction? Objection, that's speculative. Well, no. Well, he was heading away from the park, wasn't he?
Well, his body, when I saw him, he was standing there. He wasn't like running, he was standing there. And the way he was positioned was his head was facing south and his butt was facing north.
Okay, now when you saw him, did you then back up or go right back into the driveway?
No, I went here and I pulled up to the curb here and I parked my car and got out.
And then you got out and you grabbed the leash.
No, I got out and I looked at him. It looked like Mackenzie, and then I grabbed his collar to make sure he was Mackenzie. I read the tag, and then I grabbed the leash.
Okay, when you took him back over here, you said this gate, the front gate, I guess what they call the front gate, because you said the walkway there was locked, right?
Yes, it was locked.
And then there was another gate that was right here.
Correct.
Now that gate is normally closed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the dog is normally behind that gate, right?
Correct.
And this morning that gate was wide open.
Yes, it was wide open.
Okay, and do you remember it was on a 90-degree angle or it was flat around the fence itself? Do you remember?
I can't remember if it was flat against the fence, but it was wide open. It was at least 90 degrees. It was wide open.
And had you heard the dog barking at any point while you were either in your house or when you came out of your house?
While I was in my house?
Yes.
No, I didn't hear the dog bark.
Okay, and did the dog bark when you got out of your car?
No, the dog did not bark.
Okay, and so you grabbed the leash, and you put the dog back. You described the way you walked in the backyard already.
Correct.
And you heard some sounds. Originally you said you heard a sound and you thought it was coming from the backyard. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, but then you went back there. You didn't suspect anything unusual, correct?
Correct.
You didn't see any signs of a struggle or anything else in the backyard that when you went back there, correct?
It was very quiet, so no, I didn't see anything like that.
Now, when you talked to Detective Bueller on the 25th, you told him that the leash was very dirty and muddy, correct?
Yeah, I did tell him that.
Okay, and you told him that so much so, that's why you decided to go back into the residence and wash your hands, right?
In general, yes.
And then you returned and you told him that you recall returning home at around noon.
It was between 11:45 and noon that I returned home.
And when you returned home, you said that you knew the UPS delivery had been made as you saw a package that was near the front of the residence.
It was a package.
Do you want to show us where?
Yeah, there was a box. It looked just like a square, maybe book box. It was sticking out of their mailbox. And later on, I found out it was actually UPS, not a UPS delivery, but a postal delivery. When I went over the next day, they said that actually it had come from the postal service, which would be right because the mail gets delivered between like 10:30 and 11:30 in our neighborhood.
Okay, now when you came back at noon, had you walked back over to the house
No,
to see if anybody was there?
no, when I pulled in, I could see that there was something sticking out of the mailbox when I pulled in.
Okay, now you also told that Detective Bueller that when you had last spoken with Lacey and Scott that they had confirmed that the upcoming birth was going to be a boy, and they had settled on the name of Connor, correct?
That's what Scott told me when he left my house after straightening out the tree.
Okay, now the next thing you did is, now I'll jump over to the 28th phone call. That's when Scott asked you if you could pin down what it was, the exact time that you found Mackenzie, right?
Right, he asked me to do that.
And he asked you to do that. Hold on a second. And he told you the reason that he wanted you to do that was because he wanted to see if there was if it was linked to a burglary that had happened directly across the street.
That's the reason he gave in general terms on the message, yes.
Okay, in the Medinas I don't have actually this picture that we're looking at right now. What is that? What does that what does it match on your marking there on the binder? 27D?
It would be E.
E, okay. Where whoever's taking this picture is standing, it looks like probably at the Medina's house or in front of their yard, isn't it?
It looks like they're probably standing on their lawn because they're hedged to the bottom right.
Okay, it looks right. Over here is that hedge that borders their property.
The Medinas, yes.
And that the burglary that occurred would have occurred in this house right here where they're taking the picture from, correct?
The lawn that the photographer is standing on is the Medina lawn, so that would be correct.
Now, at this point that you found the receipt, or you went and you looked for the receipt that was in your pants pocket.
After Scott's call?
Yeah.
No, I found the receipt earlier that day on the 28th when I went to do my laundry. I found it in my pants pocket as I was cleaning my pants out.
And the receipt says 10:34.
Correct, a.m.
10:34 a.m.
Yes.
Right, so at that point you tried to reconstruct exactly what you had done the time of finding Mackenzie and getting over to Austin's based on your assumption that Austin's receipt at the time was accurate.
Right. I recreated it when I got back to Modesto.
Right, so you started with that suggestion that the receipt says 10:34. If that's accurate, an accurate time that you worked backwards in terms of, I think you said you had a stopwatch timing yourself.
Right.
Now, when you did that, you came up with approximately, I think the next time you said the interview, you told the police you thought it was about 10:20. Is that correct?
No, I wrote it. I wrote a note to Detective Bueller that outlined specifically my next contact with them was when I turned the actual physical receipt over, and I hand wrote a note that detailed exactly what I did that morning. And so my next report to them was that it was 10:18.
10:18 based on the receipt and working backwards, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now that you told the officers, so you wrote the officers a note, you told them that you worked backwards. It took you your estimate was about 16 minutes to do this.
Yeah, 11 minutes to drive from my house after finding the dog, going through the motions, driving, getting to Austin's, to the point of finding the dog, to the point of getting to Austin's was 11 minutes. And I spent what I approximated as about 5 minutes in Austin's making my purchase.
And so all of these are based on the estimate of Austin's for 5 minutes. That's the best guess. You were sitting there recreating it in your head.
Yeah, 10:18 is the latest I could have found the dog because there's no way I could have left any later and did what I did and made the calls that I made and gotten home by the time I had gotten home if it had been any later than 10:18. That's the latest that I approximated.
Now, at the preliminary hearing, when I went through, and you and I went through the timeline, and I had asked you how long you were at home, and you said You got there at about 11:45, 12 o'clock, and you said, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I did say that.
Then I asked, why did you leave your home? And you told me, when did you leave your home? And you told me you left your home at 5:05.
Right. I did say that at the prelim.
And I said, how do you know the exact time?
And you said because as I pulled out of my driveway, I looked at the clock in my car because I was late. And I did, yeah.
Okay.
I was 5 minutes late.
Okay, now what your testimony is here today, though, it looks like there's a supplemental report. And about a year later, I think you spoke with the investigator Bertolato. Is that correct?
Okay, well, you're talking about my testimony at the prelim. This I called Detective Bartolato a day and a half after my testimony and said, wait a minute, I think I made a mistake on the time.
Right. Well, he apparently didn't do a report until, let's see, I spoke with Karen Service on December 11th.
He called me back. I called him, okay? I testified on the 13th, right? I called him on the 15th.
November 13th. Oh, no, hold on a minute. You testified what month?
November 13th.
Right.
I called him on a Saturday, November 15th.
To tell him that when you testified at the preliminary hearing, and I specifically asked you, how do you know the exact time?
Right.
And your answer was, because as I was pulling out of my driveway, I looked at the clock in my car because I was late.
And I think it also says something on that, the fact that I can still see the package in Scott and Lacey's mailbox.
I specifically said, okay, you said you were late. Were you supposed to be somewhere at a certain time? Answer, yes. I was supposed to be somewhere at 5 o'clock p.m. Question, when you looked at your clock, yeah, you looked at your clock. Did you, during that time, were you back in your car at 5:05 and driving away? Did you ever look at the Petersons' home? And you said, yes. And that's when you said, what happened? When you did that? Did you notice anything when you did that? And I drove past the home, and Lacey's car was in the driveway, and there was a package in the mailbox.
Right.
Okay, so wasn't your testimony at the preliminary hearing that you didn't see this package until you left for work that day, not when you came back?
I saw it at both times.
You never testified to that.
No, because nobody asked me about that.
I specifically asked you, didn't I? And I'll show you your testimony if you want.
This was when I drove past the house in the evening. I noticed a package, but you did not ask me if I noticed the package when I came home at 11:45. And I did notice the package when I came home at 11:45.
I specifically asked you what happened when you did that. Did you notice anything when you did that? I drove past the home, Lacey's car was in the driveway, and there was a package in the mailbox, right? Isn't that what you answered?
That's the same package I saw earlier in the day.
You never told anybody up until today that you saw a package at 11:45 and again at 5:05, did you?
Right. Nobody asked me that question at the prelim.
Well, somebody asked you exactly what time you left your home that day, and that was me, wasn't it? And I asked you exactly, how do you know the exact time? And you said, because I was pulling out of my driveway, I looked at the clock in my car because I was late. Isn't that what you answered?
I was 5 minutes late to where I was supposed to be.
You said I left my house at 5:05. You didn't say I left my house at 4:05 or 5 minutes late. I asked, when did you leave your home? Answer, I left my house at 5:05, correct?
Okay, but can we look down to here?
Trust me, we're going to go to every one of these.
Okay.
Now, you said I was supposed to be somewhere at 5 o'clock. Isn't that what you said?
That is what I said at the prelim, yes.
And I said you were late. You were supposed to be somewhere at a certain time, and you said 5 o'clock, right?
And I was incorrect.
Okay.
I was incorrect.
You were incorrect.
I was incorrect because I went back and checked my schedule.
And Detective Bertolato or Investigator Bertolato did a report. What, a month later, saying that your testimony at the preliminary hearing was wrong?
If that's when he did the report, that's correct. But I notified him less than 48 hours after that.
Can you tell me where it says, where does this refresh your recollection as to when you actually talked to him?
He called me back. I talked to him.
A month later?
Can you let me explain it, please?
No, I'm going to ask the questions. Now, wait.
I would like to be able to explain.
I will explain. Wait a minute. Just a minute. He asked the question, you give the answer, then you can explain it. What's the question? The question is, did you talk to him a month later?
Yes, I did.
All right. Do you want to explain that?
Yes.
Explain that.
I called Detective Bertolotto 2 days after I testified at the preliminary hearing. And I said, I think I've got a problem. And he said, what? And I said, I reflected on my testimony at the prelim, and I realized that there was no way that I could have seen that package at 5:05 because it would have been dark. So I went back to my day timer, looked to see when I was supposed to be at my friend's house, and I was supposed to be there at 4 o'clock. I knew I was going to be 5 minutes late, and I said, what do I need to do? He said, I don't know. Let's wait until the prelim is over. Let's figure out what we're going to do. We may need to do a supplemental report. And then he called me back on the date in December to do the supplemental report. But I notified him within 48 hours that there was a problem and that I think I may have given the wrong time. I wanted to make sure things were accurate. That's all I want to do.
Did you ever tell him that I couldn't have seen the package at 5:05 because it would have been too dark?
Right.
But I did see the package at 11:45.
I saw the package twice that day.
I asked you if you told him.
When?
Oh, that's when.
Whoops. I told him that when I called him back. I said I couldn't have seen. What I'm saying is the reason I know that I left later is that it would have been too dark for me to see the package at 5:05. So I went back and checked my records. I knew that I had 5 minutes. I left 5 minutes late because it was supposed to be there now at 4 o'clock.
Can you read this report and tell me anywhere in this report where it says you saw the package at 11:45? Just read it to yourself. Read it to yourself.
No, there's nothing here. But I saw the package at 11:45.
You just testified. You told this jury that you told the investigator that you saw the package at 11:45.
Which investigator?
Bertolato, isn't that what you just testified to?
No, that's not what I just said.
You didn't say that?
I didn't say.
Okay, let me.
I may have said that to him. You know, to the fact is I saw the package at 11:45. That is the fact. No matter who I told it to, that is the fact that I saw it when I came home and I saw it when I left.
When you talked to Bertolato, did you tell him it was currently getting near Christmas time and the time of year that Lacey Peterson went missing? She noticed it's getting dark before 5 o'clock. That caused her to reflect more closely on the time she left the house on the evening of 12/24. Is that what you told him?
That probably is a fair representation, yes. It's probably not verbatim.
Did you tell him that Service is sure that she could see a package in the Peterson mailbox as she was leaving to go to Ripon? And as dark as it is at 5 o'clock, she said to me she doesn't think she could see a package and she doesn't remember it being dark when she left.
It wasn't dark when I left that afternoon, that's correct.
Right, and I'm asking you, is that what you told him?
Yeah.
Did you tell him that you had seen that same package at 11:45 in the same conversation.
No, I didn't say that at that time.
Did you?
But I saw the package.
When did you tell him?
Tell Bertolato when I saw the package?
Yeah.
At 11:45, or at the time when I left the house.
When did you tell him that you saw the package at 11:45?
I don't know specifically when I told him that.
You also at one point tried to file a complaint with the Modesto PD on me, didn't you? Didn't you call up the police and tell them that you wanted to file a complaint against me?
Yes, I did.
Okay, did you tell them that a National Enquirer reporter had come to some place where you were and that this person gave you a card, and because they were from Los Angeles, you assumed I must have sent them?
No, that's not true.
You didn't tell them that. You didn't tell the police that?
No. What happened was I was at work, somebody said that there is a Bob Smith or Bob White or whatever waiting to see you. And I went out. He introduced me as a person from the Globe magazine and that he wanted to talk to me. The assumption I made was because you had made a statement during the day about some mystery woman, that he was assuming that I was a mystery woman and that had information about Lacey's disappearance. And so that's how I tied that together, and that is why I called the detective. I was very upset that somebody had come to my workplace to speak with me.
That's not what you told the police, though, is it?
That is what I told them.
Didn't you tell the police that specifically because the guy gave you a card and he's from Los Angeles and I'm from Los Angeles, that therefore you think I sent him there?
No, that's not true, because he never gave me a business card.
So you never told the police that?
No.
Objection. It's been asked and answered. Well, hold on. I'll just find that report and see if it refreshes your recollection. The answer is sustained. May I have just one moment, Your Honor? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a noon recess. How much longer are you going to be with this witness? How much longer? Oh, excuse me. How was the judge? I'm going to be with this witness a little bit longer. But before we take a recess, can I show her one thing? Yes, identify what you're going to show her. 17634, Bates stamp. This is a report from Detective Bueller, and, what's the date? It would have been, it looks like 5/9 of 03. 5/9 of 03? Yeah. Service advised she wants to file a complaint against Mark Garagos, believing this visit was possibly tied to his involvement in the case, since the Globe reporter admittedly came from Los Angeles. Is that what you told the officer?
Can I see that, please?
Yes, you can. Right there. Is that what you told him?
Wait a minute, I haven't finished reading the sentence. Can I read it again, please?
Can you let the witness finish reading it?
Can you just leave it here while I make my statement? Thank you. I don't believe that it was tied to your involvement in the case because the person from Los Angeles, but it was because of the statement you made to the press.
Did you tell the officer that you believe that because the Globe reporter is from Los Angeles Bureau, and I was from Los Angeles, that you believe there was a connection?
No, I believed it was because of the statement you made to the press.
Did you tell that to the officer, to Detective Bueller?
I told him that I was aware that a statement had been made earlier in the day and that there was some mystery woman out there, and I felt that it was tied to that.
And so this is why you wanted to file the complaint?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I'll resume after lunch. And Miss Service, when you go back on the stand, and Mr. Garagos, are you ready to proceed? I discussed with Mr. DeStasso. I'm not going to ask any more questions. We got a couple more witnesses we want to try and rush them through. You want to get them through, so you have no more questions on cross? I have no more on cross. Now a redirect by Rick DeStasso. I have just a couple more. Okay. Ms. Service, regarding the 10:18 time that you found the dog, did you, when you After you found your Austin's receipt, did you write a note to Detective Bueller kind of detailing what you'd done about retracing your steps?
Yes, I did.
And let me mark that People's 30. People's 30. It's a note to Detective Bueller about Ms. Service's actions. And is that a copy of the note that you wrote him?
Yes, that is.
Okay, what time in that note did you tell him that after retracing your steps that you estimated what time you found the dog?
At 10:18 a.m.
And what was the date of that note?
The date at the top of the note is January 3rd, 2000. I put the 2002, but it was actually 2003.
Okay, and the time frame that you've given us, is that corroborated by the receipt, People's 28, and your phone records, People's 29?
Yes.
Okay, and finally, there was one question that I forgot to ask you when I was having you talk about the chart up here of People's 12. Your house is on, if you're looking at the Peterson's house, your house is on the left-hand side?
Correct.
On the right-hand side, do you know who lived in that home?
Mrs. Rose Reed lived there previously.
Okay, and then sometime prior to December 21st, 24th, she was deceased?
Yeah, she passed away.
Okay, and was anyone living in her home on the right-hand side on December 24th?
No.
Okay, it was vacant?
She had furniture. I mean, the family had furniture in there, but there was no person living in that home.
Okay, so there was still stuff in there, no person actually living there.
Right.
Can you just write, use the blue pen again, that will be easier, and just write read home, I guess.
I wrote on the diagram.
And no one living there or something like that, vacant. Put vacant. However you want to put it, yeah.
Wrote on the diagram.
All right. Thank you. No further questions. Now a recross. Mr. Garagos, any recross? I do. I'm sorry. Miss Service, this is your house that I'm pointing to right here.
Correct.
And this is Scott and Lacey's over here.
Correct.
Your bedroom is right over in this area. Is that correct?
That's my bedroom window right there.
And that's your bedroom window and their bedroom.
Is in the back of the house. It's on the southwest corner
Okay.
of the back of the house.
Do you see behind what's been marked as People's 12?
Yes, I do.
In the upper left bedroom,
The one that says master bedroom.
and that's what you know to be the master bedroom.
Yes, in their house.
Okay, and that you would estimate the distance between what we got on the photograph, what would be the distance between your house and theirs, from the wall of your house to the wall of theirs?
Well, I know that the wall of my house to my fence is about 4 feet, and is approximately another 3 or 4 feet to the edge of their house, which would be,
You want to use this?
yeah. It would be, it's different in different parts because it cuts in.
Okay.
So it's close by their dining room, very close actually, within 3 feet of my fence. And then it's another 3 or 4 feet to where my house is there. But then it gets a little wider here where the bathroom and bedroom, and where it goes back to the spa.
Would you estimate that from your house to the master bedroom area is approximately 10 to 15 feet at most?
I can't say for sure. But that would be a fair assessment. It would be more than 15, but that sounds about right.
Okay, and would you estimate that it's less than 15 from the dining room area to your house?
Yes, less than 15.
Okay, then I didn't ask you. I think I asked you at the preliminary hearing, but you had never seen Mackenzie out by himself before the day of the 24th. Isn't that correct?
Well, I had seen him by himself, but not with the leash on.
Not with the leash on?
Yeah, I'd seen him. Dogs get out, so
And when you left that day on the 24th, you did not see Scott's truck, correct? At the end of the day?
in the morning or at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, you did not see the truck
When I left my home,
to go to Ripon.
I did not see my truck. I did not see his truck, excuse me.
Did they have Christmas lights?
Yes, they did.
Were the Christmas lights on when you left?
I don't recall if they were or not.
Thank you. I have no further questions. May this witness be excused. Yes, Your Honor. And that's all I can read tonight. I am going to pass out. Oh my gosh, it's
Hear ya.
4:25. Okay, so at least we got through another witness. And let's see.
That
Hi,
was a lot.
Sassy. Hi, everybody. But that's going to be it on that tonight. So we'll see. Do I have to start a new Zoom? I do, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I think so,
Let me do
Carolyn,
that
yeah.
right away. Okay, we'll do a new meeting. We'll do a new meeting. It's time to start a new meeting. Okay, sorry. And the other meeting. Sorry, I'm delirious right now. Copy invitation. Shoot. Okay, and general. Okay. Okay. Get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. Okay. Oops. Here they come. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. And now let me go back to the chat. Okay, and I put Darcy's here. Bucky Ann, if you know, now that you're a member, you're able to come into the Zooms. I did put it in the community post. You can let me know if you'd like to join in Slack. Then I can send you an invitation. All right, and in fact, maybe I'll just do that anyway, because just do that real quick. And before we go, I'm going to look at that murder-suicide. Let me just do this real quick while I have this right here. Okay. And
Hi.
hi, Deborah.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi. Okay. Done with that. Okay, so Becky, and you have an invite to go into Slack. Let me just look at that murder-suicide. Thank you for sending that over, LMNW. The suspect in that brutal murder in Massachusetts has been found in Florida.
Oh,
Yeah, he was taken into custody in Miami Beach on Friday night. Let me see here. Go on to Mars. Okay, so I went to Captain Lee. Oh, element W, sure. Okay. Let me put you back in Slack. Okay. I think I'm just gonna, all I have to do is reactivate it, okay? So, just do this.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, hi, Heart.
Hi.
Hard.
Yeah,
Hi, Deborah.
okay, that's done, element, if you're listening. And okay, now let's see here. Where the heck is?
Hello.
Hi.
Just
hey,
Trying to find out where she is.
how's
kid.
everyone?
Nice to see you.
Hi,
Good,
Cat
Cass. Good to
Cats.
see you. What have I?
Okay. Okay.
Are you doing
All
all
right.
right?
Let me just, we're still live. Yeah, I'm gonna just end it in a minute.
I don't know who this is.
That might be Becky. Could it be? I don't know. Well,
I don't know who it is either.
or just hold on to. I'm gonna close the live, and that way, if it's somebody that's
Yeah.
okay. Everybody, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. I was gonna tell you just real quick about that. Just running to tell you about that murder. You just put them, leave them there for a second. We'll get them. Either tell us who you are in the chat. Let us know, please, because that number's not registering for us. Where did I say that was? Do you remember where I said that murder-suicide was?
Oh, you said that,
Oh, Louisville, Kentucky. Here we go.
somewhere. Okay.
So it's 4 people, and 2 juveniles were found dead. They responded 8:45 a.m. Saturday morning. A man, a woman, 2 juveniles, apparently with gunshot wounds. Father, the adult male, I guess, shot the adult female and the 2 juveniles, then himself. Victims and the shooter were related. No further information. The incident is under investigation. Yeah, it's terrible. But thank you guys for coming in, and we'll do more tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye now.
See ya, everyone.
Love you guys.
Bye,
God bless.
everybody.
Prayers for all that need, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Peace, love, and light to all.